I'm off.
This one line completely changed my outlook on Gemini. Gemini spends almost the entirety of Lies of P attached to Geppetto's puppet's hip, chirping about what's happening as he's dragged along for the ride. Whether you like it or not.
You're stuck with me.
With 7 words, he's revealed to have a past relationship of some sort with one of the most intriguing Lies of P characters. But also, a major existential question is begged about his past because it would be kind of crazy to ask a lamp attached to your hip to get rid of 2 annoying boys while you leave. So, one can assume that Gemini at one point, specifically at this point, had some sort of body. The question then becomes how. For the most part, I've been jumping between Gemini being human during this time and later having his ergo placed into the lamp after dying, or he was a puppet with a more traditionally physical body that later needed to have his consciousness moved into the lamp. However, with added details from the DLC trailers and game director Jiwon Choi's comments in recent interviews, I've landed on a new theory that I'm sticking with at least through Overture. It seems summoning in Lies of P was going to work a bit differently at some point during the game's development. There's a cut item called Leo's Bell that when rang would summon the Survivor Stalker to fight alongside Geppetto's puppet. Based on what we've seen in the DLC trailers so far, this type of summoning seems to be making a comeback. There's also cut dialogue that implied Gemini had a very special ability that also would have worked as a summoning. He could jump into empty puppet bodies and control them. Honestly, a very fitting ability for a character referencing the talking cricket. Gemini had lines saying, "I'll let you know when there are puppets I can take control of." This implies he could not only take control of puppet bodies, but it wasn't just a one-off. It was nice to have a body for a long time? Implies he did indeed enter the bodies and did not just control them remotely. Damn it, that's as much as I can do with this one, sorry buddy. Implies there was a limit to how long he could jump for. And finally, I'll stick by your side as if I were your twin. Gives some pretty good payoff to his name. It's important to note, this is cut content and it's a dangerous game speculating lore based on it. It could have been cut for any number of reasons. Maybe the devs felt it no longer fit the story they wanted to tell. This is pretty much the reason why I had never put much stock into it as an answer before. However, with the devs' recent comments about Overture being a chance to bring back content they had to cut, specifically seeming to be dusting off discarded summon mechanics, I think it's a lot safer to look at it as story intent now. You can probably see where I'm going with this, but let me lay it out. Gemini is not the lamp or the cricket puppet inside of it. He is the consciousness within. This is backed up by the Gemini consumables for protecting your ergo, which read, food for the cricket puppet that receives help from Gemini. It also lines up with the original story as well, as the talking cricket is killed by Pinocchio very early on in the story, and actually makes most of his appearances as a ghost. However, I think the cricket puppet and lamp are his home base, his standard physical form. If something goes wrong while he's jumping, he would return to it by default. In the times before the events of the main game's story, I think there would have been designated physical bodies made specifically for Gemini to jump into that he would probably use to fight, train, and help the legendary stalker chase off kids. Although, he would have the ability to pilot an empty puppet if the situation called for it. To pile a theory onto another theory, I've previously speculated that this person fighting the legendary stalker in the story trailer is Gemini. And going along this path, I would say this is one of his ready-made puppet bodies. And looking closely at the scene, you can certainly make a good case that this attacker is a puppet appearance-wise. I know it's just using one theory to explain another theory, but it also makes it easier to explain why Gemini would be fighting Leo. Further, it seems like Geppetto has to end up with Gemini in his possession at some point for him to be on the train when we wake up. If he's subject to Law Zero, maybe Geppetto gets in his ear and has him attack her. In fact, this offers another explanation as to why the legendary stalker is seen carrying a dark monad lamp at times in the DLC trailers. It's not that he hasn't been put in the lamp yet, he's just not currently at home. My guess is that, story-wise, Gemini doesn't do it in the base game because he forgot he could do it. Maybe seeing his past self do it will help him remember in Overture. I also wonder if this power might help explain Gemini's condition at the beginning of the game too. He's found where there appears to have been a struggle and needs to reboot, but the lamp is relatively unharmed and just on the floor. Maybe getting got while in another body forces him to lose his memories and restart. Otherwise, it seems like the most likely suspect for the "they" Sophia mentions that got him is a stray cat. I honestly don't know. I don't think Gemini has spent the entirety of his puppet life in the Monad lamp, but I struggle to make a firm call on if he was ever a human. I keep jumping back and forth between him being a former human whose ego has awakened, or him being an AI that grew enough to be able to pass the Turing test. On the one hand, he's so personable and spirited, much more so than any other puppet we've encountered in the game, even amongst those with awakened egos. He seems to express feelings and opinions in a way that's hard to accept that he wasn't once a person.
Did you feel that? It's like someone walked across my grave.
On the other hand, Broken Gemini makes me think he's just a program with a personality slider.
Destination Hotel Krat. Optimal location for reserving the destination. I see Hotel Krat. I do love this view. It is a nice view, but we must be moving.
It's a tough call, and in a game that questions what it means to be human at its core, I wonder if that's the point. But with Lies of P Overture coming this summer and Gemini's story far from being finished, I think there's a good chance that the answer is on its way.